Behind every great success story, there is hard work, resilience, love, and leadership. Today, we're about to dive deep into a man who has done it all, welcoming a guest who's redefined what it means to juggle roles, from fatherhood, entrepreneurship, leadership, and business. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ollie Lowe.
Ollie, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate this.
Hey, man, I just want to let you know, again, I kind of told you off air, I really appreciate you welcoming me into your home. It's a beautiful space, my man. And I was telling you off air because you asked me what kind of inspired me to be able to just talk to people and do this. It's just to be able to talk to people like you and just everyday people, because I get an enhancement. Even if it's a 1% kind of thing, it's like I get to take it into my everyday life, brother.
Right.
But when I first bumped into you, we talked about that off air too.
Right.
It was very like, oh, I've known this guy for 10 plus years.
Exactly, right?
You know what I mean?
Love, right away,
Yes.
right away.
So you were saying that you sense sometimes when people are not that way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You can see it a mile away, you know. I mean, like I said to you earlier, you know, if I don't like you, you're gonna see it, right away. I don't hold any punches. But when I saw you, man, it was just genuine. And the embrace, I was like, this is a good dude. And then I would follow you, right? You know, before you even met, I followed you on social media.
Yeah.
And then you obviously got a jewel of a mother, man. So the upbringing has been beautiful watching that, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot in common when
Yes.
it comes down to that, my man.
Exactly. And I want to break everything down, my man. So I read a lot about you, and I can say with full confidence that I'm very, very impressed, my man. And my mom was not lying when she said he's a pretty big deal, you know? So I really want to go into detail, man, and kind of start from the very beginning, brother. What was your childhood like?
Oh, man. So childhood. So born in Inglewood, California, at the hands of Sharon Zen Ona Brooks and my father, Ollie Lowe Sr. You know, we moved here at a very young age, my sister and I, early 80s. Grew up in East Salinas. My mother moved here. And the only reason she moved here is she's originally from this area.
Oh, okay.
So she was born at Fort Ord. So kind of make a long story short, her brothers were still here. And so she moved back here to Salinas, this area. And we were, you know, pretty much raised up in East Salinas, right there on Taunton Laurel. And my childhood was amazing, man. Some kids wouldn't even think it was amazing. It was the best thing ever, you know, shooting marbles at the, you know, in the park, digging holes, you know, going to the flea market, stealing Seiko watches, you know, just running up and down Cardboard Hill back in the day. It was just love, man. I mean, we know our neighbors, you know, everybody got along, you know. There were certain things that were going on even when we left Inglewood. You know, there was crime. There was, you know, we left at a time where they were shooting up right next door to us, you know. So being raised in Inglewood and Compton area. So, but the childhood was beautiful, man. It was all those kids, all those guys that I grew up with, the girls I grew up, they're all still my best friends till this day.
Yeah.
You know, they're all there, you know, when my mother passed away. So it was a beautiful childhood, man. I had, you know, obviously we didn't have all the finer things in life, but that's how, you know, that's how things were, and that was beautiful for us. So, you know, nothing was handed.
Yeah.
Right? So it was all earned.
Yeah. So during that time, obviously there was like a lot of, like you said, crime. Did you have any temptation in those things? Because you know, like how sometimes people fall into that trap, the cheap dopamine hits, like, oh, I like being a daring individual. I like causing havoc sometimes. Sometimes when that's all their environment is, they kind of go towards that. Did you ever get kind of pushed into it?
You know, not once. You know, once again, growing up with this amazing woman, my mother, she kept us from that. But also as a kid, witnessing a lot of that stuff, being in Inglewood, I mean, I witnessed my first burglary right in front of me. A guy was robbing a gal at the Castle Burgers, and I'm a kid, and I'm just in awe with the guy, you know, and my mom pushing us back, you know, and I'm going, no, and she, you know, she always said, no, you'll never be a part of this.
Yeah,
this is not going to be your childhood. This is not, you know, and there's some influences even when I moved here to Salinas. You know, there were some influences about jumping into gangs, but when you have someone that's just firm and committed to raising you, you know, she kept us busy, right? Sports kept us busy, and she worked 3 jobs, and she kept us busy.
Yeah.
So
I kind of keep that principle too that I walk with every day. It's like, oh, never disappoint your family and never disappoint my mother. You know what I mean? Because just like yours, she set a huge standard, and it's important for us to kind of follow that and not break it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that is our duty as grown men to kind of follow that. And,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Because it's very easy to go towards the distractions, right? But it's better when you make the decision to kind of stay on track.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So where did that discipline come from, my man?
Well, I mean, once again, it came from my mother, because she was disciplined. She was a church woman. She was a God-fearing woman. She was, so it came from watching her, because I never had a father. And I shouldn't say that. I had a father. I didn't have a father in my life. So my mother played both roles, whether she was running up and down the football field when I was playing football, whether she was showing up to my high school when I cut up in class and made it known that, hey, listen, we don't do this.
Yeah.
So, and it was just, just knowing that, at some point in life, I'll be a father one day.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to preserve those things and those same, laws, which I would call it, things that she laid down, and present that to my child one day, and understand that this is what we do.
Yeah.
So that's where the discipline came from. It was just watching her every day, because, she didn't, her life was her children. And then she, passing away at a age of 44.
Yeah.
That's young. Right? So, she didn't enjoy the fruits after, right? It was, she did everything for her children. So, yeah.
And even when you, so you lost your father at such a young age, did you meet any, say, high quality men in your life to be able to like carry some solid principles?
That's, it's interesting to me. You give me that question, because I think about the coaches in my life. I think about the Blair Milners. I think about the Frank Gillers. I think about the Tom Russells, all the guys who gave me a chance, right? It was someone out there just gave me a chance.
Yeah.
I just needed a chance, right? And maybe I didn't see it in myself at the time, but somebody else saw it in me. And it put me in positions to be successful, which is why I do the same thing, right? I'm going to return that favor, because I see a kid, I'm going, no, he needs a chance. This kid needs a chance. You need a chance, right? So it was those mentors that I had in my life, that are, some are still living, some that I honor all the time. I had a coach of mine, Blair Milner, who just had the baseball field named after him. And I was so excited just to go see him be honored, right?
Yeah.
And then another coach of mine, Frank Giller, who was in town not long ago, he got entered in the Hartnell Hall of Fame. I'm not sure why they took them so long to get him in, but it was just an honor to be there. And then when I approached him, he was like, "How's your brother? How's your sister?" It gave me goosebumps, thinking, you still remember, you still know, and this is why I'm here, because guys like you. So.
Yeah, man, I bump into, still to this day, amazing men. And I think when we have parents, it's like their rules and their like the laws are pretty much to show us what to do and what not to do, and what to be and what not to be. And I took both sides, and I'm glad and blessed that I was able to. And even to this day, my mentor, Rick Soto, I met him late in life, which was my last fight. And I've always been tested physically, but not psychologically. So he challenged me in ways, like mentally, to the point where I was like, man, I didn't even know this kind of challenge existed, and I wanted more, right? So even for you, my man, when you're with these men, same with even athletes, I feel like since we are former athletes, we kind of look up to people like you're a big Laker fan. I know there were some, like say a Kobe Bryant. It's hard not to look at that man and like, I want to instill some of the principles he does. How could I implement? And that's my life.
Right.
Did you have any of those men in your life?
I did. So, obviously Kobe's younger than me, but there were certain men or certain athletes in my life that I looked up to. Obviously I wanted to be, there was the Bo Jacksons in the world that were, just unbelievable on the field. I was never going to be Bo Jackson. I could never be his size. And then there was just athletes that weren't professional athletes, but they were athletes that I played football with. The James Scarretts, who took me in, and I was a junior, and then he was a senior, and we were both in the backfield, and he believed in me and my ability to protect him and block for him and run with him, and whether it was on the offensive side or the defensive side. So those guys I looked up to because they were just so good. And then I just, for me, it was the work that they put in. It was the work they put in inside the gym. It was the work they put in outside the gym.
Yeah.
It was on just being just a good person and having, you know, watching these guys walk around. They were just loved, right? They were loved for all the right reasons.
Yes.
Right? They didn't have to pay no one. They were just genuine good guys. So I looked up to guys like that. You know, like I said, most of them are coaches. And then there's just, you know, there's uncles. Yeah, I've got an uncle, my mom's older brother, who's, you know, still to this day, as far as I'm concerned, the best running back to ever come out of Monterey High School. Yes. And he was played back in the days where things were a little different.
Yeah.
But he played and he loved the game, and he was, when I say I look up to him, I look up to him. You know why I look up to him? Because he took care of my mother as a big brother, right? So that was big for me. Yeah. I watched it all the time. I saw it all the time. So.
And we watched athletes nearly our entire lives and still continues to do so. Isn't it like interesting how media will say bash an athlete or an individual when they make a certain mistake? And then the media won't kind of sit back and realize, hey, didn't you do wrong when you were younger? Like these athletes are not perfect.
And, you know, Denzel said something not long ago. He says, you know, the problem with media is everybody wants to be first. Right? Oof. Regardless if it's true or not, you just want to be first. That's the big mistake, right? You just want to be first. There's athletes that I've seen that have made mistakes, Kobe being one of them. But also saw Kobe transition into just one of the most amazing fathers. Forget what he did on the court. Yeah. But what he did as a father, raising his beautiful girls, right? And that was tragic. Tragic for me. My daughter is a big Kobe fan. And obviously his daughter. So yeah, we don't give them the benefit of the doubt, right? You judge before judged, right? Yeah. You make that decision, that determination. Yeah. Nah, you know what? It's sad because, you know, some people are judged quicker than others. Yeah. And it has a lot to do with a lot of different things, right? So yeah, you know, but guys like Kobe, Michael Jordan, guys like that, right? You know, so yeah.
You know what's interesting to me? One of the biggest things that I respect when it comes to just people, businessmen and women, risk takers, entrepreneurs, but parents. I feel like that doesn't get enough praise. It's like we praise these athletes, right? We put them such a high pedestal, but when I see a father, when I see a mother, is a difference when you say a mom and dad. I feel like anybody can be a mom and dad, but when you're a father and a mother, it's a very big difference. And every time I see it, just like yourself, it's beautiful to see. And you could see it within your face. And I've seen it in the pictures of your daughter, glowy. And it shows, like, eyes do not lie. You know what I mean? So, and it's beautiful to see when I bump into people like you, knowing you're one of the good ones, right? And you lost a father. Like, your mother played that role. But it's interesting because at the end of the day, she's not a man. So the people who came across your life, coaches, they're the ones that kind of like, you know, they don't live with me, but that hour or two that I'm with them, I'm a sponge. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to just listen. But that takes discipline to do that, man. Because when I was just telling you, like, when I was young, I didn't do that a lot. You know, I get humbled later in life. But now I'm sitting here like a sponge. So with you are a entrepreneur, you're a businessman, you're a father. When did your business ventures, the idea of them, come into play?
So I'll give you kind of a short story if I can. You know, right after college, I was a trainer at the local club called Sony's Athletic Club. And I was just training individuals, working out, and my first love was law enforcement. That's what I wanted to do, right? And I was waiting to jump into the academy, and then something else popped up. It was a gentleman who was a mentor of mine, who's no longer here. God bless him. Tom Russell. I was training him at the gym, and we had so much in common, right? Both Scorpios, both a couple days apart. He was older than me. And we would just engage and talk about different things, and he just had zero fear. He just wanted to. He had told me one time, he said, "Ollie, you know what? I wake up scared every morning. I wake up scared every morning because I don't want to fail. That ignites me. So I've got new ideas. I got to wake up being better than the day before." And I remember he gave me this book, 48 Laws of Power. He said, "Read this," and he says, "Just there's certain things you can take out of that, and you can understand your next journey." But he presented an opportunity for me. He said, "Hey, listen, Ollie, I got a little deal here. I've got a company I do packaging with. They have no influence here in Salinas, and I think you'd just be amazing." And I'm like, I don't know anything about the produce business.
Yeah.
He says, "No, you do it. You'll see." He says, "I guarantee you, you're gonna." I go, "But I'm black." He goes, "Well, the guy that owns the company is 6'10" German. You guys will look like a couple of different, you walk in the room, you both look like sore thumbs." And I go, "Okay." So I got involved in the business, and I was just a sales guy. And I started creating relationships in the area that some of them that I, either I played football with or played against, or I just knew them growing up. And I bought the company 4 years later. And then after that, maybe 10 years after that, I changed the name. It used to be called Hebert Kulo. And then 10 years after that. But the mentor said, "You're going to do this, watch."
Yeah.
And I didn't, I was like, no, And then it just started to work for me, right? So I just started taking, I didn't have the capital a lot of these guys have, right? I have a name, I have a last name, but I don't have the last names, right? So everything, there was nothing, wasn't left, this pot full of money. When my mom died, my mother left me a funeral bill. My dad left, I didn't know the man. He died a month after I was born. So all I had was mentors and good men around me who supported me and who gave me, put my name out there and said, "No, you got to go do business with Ollie." So it just kind of grew, and I just started venturing in different things. But the packaging side of the business it's the mothership. Yeah. It's what created all the things that I currently do now. But it wasn't until somebody gave me a chance.
Yeah.
So.
And in that 4 years before you bought the company, you were just kind of learning when it comes to the strategies, the tactics, the marketing, the business aspect of it. What were some of the complications during the 4-year process before you bought the company?
I knew zero about forming a business, right? So all the only knowledge that I had came from the attorneys and the accountants that represented me or helped me establish. And then one who was a good friend of mine, who was another childhood friend of mine, Larissa, who helped me build the company and start the company when I wanted to transition from the old company. So I'm a sales guy. Yes. I sell all these different legalities and insurances and things like that. I knew zero about, but I learned, right? So it took me some time to learn. But I had the people around me. I surrounded myself with good people.
Yeah.
Right, good people. I had to get rid of the bad people, but I surrounded myself with good people, and that's the success of it. Is you can't do it by yourself, right? You gotta have good people around you. You gotta have not only just good people around you, you have to have, you want to have good customers. You want to have good friends that want to support you, and and you guys keep each other in line, and
yeah.
So.
And that term, it takes a village,
yep.
Right? But I think it is also necessary to kind of deal with those bad transactions, even when it comes to people. It kind of lays you that blueprint when it comes to, like you said, when you can really like look at somebody and like grab on somebody like, man, you're a good dude. You're an amazing woman. You know what I mean? Like you carry those principles, but that came through time. That came through learning, because we all bump into people who just try to take advantage of us. How did you react during those times?
I had to, I would think about how would my mother react when people took advantage of her. She was such a giving person. Yeah. And she gave up her home. She gave up a lot of different things for people. And, she was always say, "This too shall pass, but guess what? I'll be blessed 100-fold." Because this is what my heart says to do. My mother was really big on that, which is one of the reasons why we started our foundation, is that, people gave up on the people that she was around, communities. So, she made a decision to anyone that lived near us. It was all about, hey, come Christmas time, we're going to walk. We're going to go down to Salvation Army. We're going to make sure we take care of the kids, the parents, food, clothing, you name it. This is what we're going to do. And I remember doing that every single year, right? Yeah. Especially when we were denied as a kid. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, there's not much, all the food that was being cooked inside the kitchen was whatever was there, right? There was no pork chops. There were no steaks. It was, we just made... but it was things like that so being, I learned my lessons as a young man. I've had people turn their back on me. I've had people call me out of my name. I have people who are considered friends of mine in the business who, saw opportunities for themselves and, made decisions based off of what they wanted to do for their own sake. But you live and learn, right? So you understand that. But you also, I'm smart enough to know I keep those relationships at bay. I know what kind of person you are.
Yes.
So I'm okay with that. I get it. I know what not to do. Right. Yeah, I learn. Okay, don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Right. So
like we don't have to leave with bitterness. We'll just kind of be like, hey, this is you're gonna stay over there and I'm gonna be over here. Nothing more.
Yep.
Let's just keep it at distance
Right.
and we'll be fine. Right. But even when it comes to like say onboarding, there, like you say, it takes a village to be able to help grow, maintain, and scale a business. What's that process like of bringing in the right people, the right team?
Well, it's scary because actually it's scary for some. At one point, it was scary for me because there was no capital. But I trust the people that I was around, and a lot of these people that I brought to the table with me were the same ones that have been with me since day one. So that trust was good. The Roses you just met.
Yes.
There's the Rubens that have been with me for 20 plus years, right? Larissa, who helped me when I started to transition from the old company and into the new company. These are people that I've known since my childhood. So that part was easy.
Yeah.
We had some up and downs and some things that, happened during the time, but they were always there. Right, I could always count on them. Right, they were always there. They're not going anywhere. No. Right, and what I've noticed in life is that when you take care of people, they're gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
Right, they don't have to worry about it. I love watching my employees buy their first homes.
Yeah.
Right, or build their second homes. Right, and I love to think that I was a part of that. Going, hey, listen, this is not all me. We're gonna spread this around. If you bring them all together, you spread it around. Right, just makes things much better.
Yeah.
When you do that, as opposed, look how. Boss Ollie's living. No, we're all going to live together.
Yeah.
We're all going to live good if we just do all the right things for each other. So.
And it's so important too, because your name is on the business, but the people who are involved are also winning as well. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what a true leader is, to make sure everybody on the team is eating, to make everybody is living very, very well. Just going back to the whole, like, having a mother and having the great mentors, are those the kind of like lessons that they pass on to you on, like, when it comes to leadership?
Absolutely. Because they surrounded themselves with great people.
Yeah.
And they brought the people around them, whether it was coaches, and they shared that same love, and they just wanted the best for all. So it was things like that. Like I tell you, football, I know every single coach that was out there, and they're the same ones that I honor and I go visit are the same ones that surrounded themselves with the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The best. So yeah, my mother surrounded herself with the best of friends. So
yeah.
and I still talk to them. There's a gal named Margarita that's one of my mom's best friends, and she's about the same age as my mom right now. My mom would be, and I call her I'm in barbecuing in the back. It's just the gatherings, right? Yeah. I'd call her and I get all my friends. When I FaceTime her, she says, "Mijo, you're so funny," and I just call her and say, "I just want you to know I love you, and I appreciate all the things that you've done." Appreciate yourself, being around my mother and just showing love for family. So yeah, just stuff like that.
Yeah. And how important because I've one of my mentors told me this, because he has a multi-million-dollar business as well, and he was kind of letting me know business is kind of like fighting. You always have to watch your competition.
Oh yeah.
Right. But it's also, I kind of mentioned this to him, like with fighting, my intention was to know the opponent so much to the point where I know them more than they know themselves, right? And I feel like that's what kind of makes me multiple steps ahead, especially in the fight game. And I feel like that also correlates to business. Oh, yeah. But he also mentioned having competition keeps you on your toes and keeps you innovating. So you want to be number one, but at the same time, we still need them around, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, being complacent, right? You don't want to be complacent in anything that you do.
Yeah.
Business, for me, I study my competition often, if not every day. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what the suppliers are doing. I want to know what my customers are doing. I study it, so I want to make sure I'm a step ahead. I also surround and put myself in a position where I deal with people, customers or suppliers that are not involved with my competition.
Yes.
So it gives me an edge, keep them close to me.
Yeah.
Right? And they support me, and I I feed them, they feed me. But knowing what the competition's doing at all times is key in this business.
Yeah.
Whether it's packaging, whether it's spirits, you kind of want to know what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to be a follower. You don't want to be a follower. You don't want to, oh, we got this too.
Yeah.
You want to present it first.
Yes. How do you stay motivated and inspired when it comes to you showing up for your business and just showing up for yourself consistently?
Once again, it's the fear of failing is my motivation. I don't want to fail. And then, when you've got a child, right? It's not that I'm trying to create this generation. I am trying to create generational wealth, but for me, it's I got to pay the bills. I want to be consistent with what I do. I want to continue to grow. And this is all I have.
Yeah.
That's the motivation, right? I'm not going to go back and go to the academy and, work the streets. This is all I have. So my motivation is, hey, I wake up. My motivation is looking at that beautiful little girl of mine every morning and going, you know what? I got to do it for you. I've got to do it for you. I can't sit back and wait. I got to do it for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the motivation.
Going back to your daughter, brother, how was it bringing a child into the world?
Whew, you're going to get me. She's my first love. And, I'll never forget the day, March 15th, 2008. We go, my wife is scheduled, at the time she's scheduled for a C-section. And no, she wasn't scheduled for a C-section, excuse me. She was scheduled that day to induce labor so she'd have our child. And as we're there, there's a couple of people that were there that were friends of mine, were really close to us. They were kind of explaining they had just had their kid, their daughter the day before, and they got, I'm just nervous. This is my first time. I'm not big on hospitals. I mean, I can't stand hospitals.
Me neither.
I can't stand the smell. I lost my mother in hospital. I don't like hospitals. So, anyways, we're there, and the gentleman friend of mine was explaining how this is gonna go. Hey, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna, they're gonna induce her. They're gonna, when she gets this size, and they're gonna, bring you in. You're gonna, like, okay. I was just nervous. But what got me was that when the nurses came in, and they were just getting her prepped and getting ready for labor, they couldn't locate the heartbeat. And there's nothing like feeling helpless. There was nothing I could have done. Yeah. There's nothing I could do. Look at my wife at the time, and I just, everything, just the life just left me because I was so scared. Yeah. And these nurses come running in, pulling cords. We got to get her to surgery. And they hand me scrubs, and I'm going, God, no, please help me. Yeah. And she went into surgery, emergency C-section, and the life jumped right back in me when they pulled her up, and I held her, and that's love. Yeah. That's love, and it got me. So after that day, and my poor wife at the time, she had to go into recovery, so it was just my daughter and I in the room, and that yeah, that's love, man, and that's why.
And of all the business ventures and all the amazing things that you've created, your greatest title is fatherhood.
Fatherhood,
right?
Period. When I die, it's fatherhood. When I die, when I walk out on the streets, it's daddy. Yeah. Right. I'm a daddy first. I'm a daddy first. So yeah.
What have you learned? What are the key lessons and the core principles that you kind of walk with, and that you've learned from being a father?
Well, having a girl, it changes you. As a lot of guys, they want the boy. They want the stud. You view women a whole nother way when you have a girl.
Yeah. Right.
And you become more of the protector like a big brother would over a sister.
Yeah.
Right? You become the protector. And what I've learned is if you raise them right, they'll make good decisions. They may make a mistake here and there, but if you raise them right, so it's also being open, right? Okay, open to you making a mistake, but understand, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Right. So you learn. You know, I've been fortunate, knock on wood, thank God. I've got a beautiful little young lady. She's an athlete, and we have an open relationship. It's hey, talk to me. Let's talk. Like there's nothing hidden. There's no. It's hey, I'm okay. You're a beautiful young lady. The boys are gonna come.
Yeah.
Choose right. Make good decisions. I mean, let them chase you. You don't need to chase anyone. You're beautiful. You're top 25 in your class. You're top athlete. Like you'll be fine. Yeah. You'll be fine. And it's my job as a dad to set that standard because she wants to know. Well, what? Okay. Well, I'm gonna make. Okay, Dad. Who do you choose? Yeah. Hey, who's coming in and out of your house? Right. So you got to be real careful how you don't practice what you preach.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not close to becoming a father yet, but I live like by my principles and by my actions. Is like when I have a son, I kind of live as if like I want my son, the man that I want my son is like, oh, I have to live that way. If I have a daughter, the man that I would want her to marry is somebody like me, disciplined with the core principles, who show up for themselves every single day. So your children have to see it, you know? And I feel, because they see everything. That's something that I'm recognizing with my niece. I mean, you hear that term all the time, that kids pay attention. And they listen. And with my niece, she's only 6 years old, and it's so crazy how smart she is. You know, she like bring up memories that when she was like 4 years old. I'm just like, wow. Yeah. Okay. So and even like last time I saw her, she asked me to come play with her. And this when I hurt my back at the time. And I got up like, oh, well, she told me to like get up and go play. And I sat down next to her and she said, Uncle, do you like hanging out with me? Because I made that face.
Oh yeah. They watch, they see.
So she said, do you like hanging out with me? She's like, no, baby, I love being with you. And she was like, okay, let's play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that face was not intended from her reaction. It's just because my body was injured. But even that, it's like we have to be very, very mindful. And when my sister was living with me at the time, my niece was 1 year old. I was bringing women in and out of the house a lot. And I changed my whole psychology when I saw my sister make a face. She made that face of like disgust, like you're one of those guys. And I saw that while I was bringing a woman into the house. I was like, oh, I have to make a change. I was like, and my sister was single at the time because of guys like me. So that's where it's like, it's almost like you have to be that guy to kind of recognize, oh, I can't do that anymore. I have to be an example of what a man is, you know?
Right.
And my father is no longer in this area. So I try to instill that within my brothers, within my sister, within my mom. Like, hey guys, we make mistakes, but we capitalize on it too. How did you handle all the setbacks, man? Out of everything that you've been through when it comes to, especially fatherhood, since we're on the topic of fatherhood right now, how were those setbacks and how did you capitalize on those?
You know, I was, growing up, I was always confused a little bit as a young man because, like I said, the only father figures I had in my life were my coaches and my uncles. But, my father was not necessarily a secret. It was just not talked about, and I think a lot of it had to do with my mom was young and then just wanted to move on with life with hopes that, not that I would forget, but that I can move on and just, know that she was there.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I know a lot of mothers and some dads that do that. But there was something in me that I just, once my mom passed away, right? So she passed away, I was 23 years old. There was a shoebox underneath her bed that had all of our typical parents keep stuff safe, social security cards, birth certificates. But in that shoebox was a death certificate. I thought, wow, oh my God, my dad. Okay, this whole entire time I thought my dad died choking. He died of a heart attack. And so that gave me, okay, well, I need to be concerned about my health, and be conscious about all the things that I'm doing, my lifestyle. So, and I just let it go. Then it was really crazy about that. I didn't know my middle name. I didn't know how to spell my middle name until I saw his death certificate. So I put that away. So I later on in life, I just after she passed away, I thought, let me see if I can find this family. And I ran into a lot of different, roadblocks. I couldn't, back at the time, internet wasn't the best. I had went down to Southern California I looked up some stuff online. I found out where he was buried. And that was the first time I actually was, as far as I'm concerned, close enough to him at the time, visiting his gravesite. Well, but all I wanted was a picture. I never had a picture of my father. I never knew what the man looked like. That passed, 26 years old. I just gave up. I saw where he was buried. Didn't find any family members. But it was up until I saw this movie. The movie changed my life. It's called The Antoine Fisher Story. And not the whole entire movie, but the fact that this man, Derek Luke was the actor, and also Denzel Washington, one of my favorite actors. He was struggling in life because he just didn't know. He had some anger issues. He had some, upbringing issues. He just didn't know where to go. So Denzel was his psych. But Denzel told him, at the end of the movie, he told him to go find his family. And after I watched that movie, I was motivated to go find my family because it's a beautiful setting. So I did. I ended up going on myancestry.com, and I don't know how much money I spent, but it was a lot. Ordering birth certificates, trying to match up who's my grandfather, who's my grandmother, who are the family. So one night, about 11:30 at night, there's one number that I didn't call. With all the other numbers, I was giving up. Nobody answered the phone. It was disconnected. One number I called, and it rang about 12 times. And the woman answered the phone. She says, there's two reasons why I didn't want to answer this phone. First reason is it's 11:30 at night. The second reason was a caller ID says Ollie Lowe. And the only Ollie Lowe I know died 30 years ago. And I says, I'm Junior. And, what's crazy is I have this all documented. I have it all on video. So she hangs up the phone. She's like, I got to get back to you. Because, I don't know. I didn't know if Ollie had kids. My brother, who's older than me, is probably familiar. I'm on my way to a game opener. Leaving Salinas, taking a bunch of my customers up to the Giants game, limo. And I'm telling you, I'm like lit up going, I think I found my family. I think I found my family. I think I found my family. So I'm telling this story to my mentor, Tom Russell at the time. And we're driving down, we're up to the Bay Area. And he says, gets on his phone and he goes, hey, get the plane ready. Pick up Ollie at SFO. He looks at me and goes, you're going to go meet your family. No clothes. I just had what I had on. My cousin's calling me at the time that I just met. He's happens to be my father's nephew. He says, Ollie, my name's George Lowe. I know about you. I know you have a sister as well. We'd love to meet you, but get here as soon as you can because your father's mother's still alive. Jeez. So that's when the plane gets involved. I get there, my buddy, I buy a video camcorder, whatever you want to call it back then, and got the rental car, and he's driving me to California Hospital, downtown Los Angeles, and I'm nervous. I walk in this room, and I see this woman sitting there, 95 years old, Lorenza Lowe, and looked like the older version of my sister, just like my sister. And she looks at me, she says, Ollie, where have you been? She thought I was her son. So that, I met my family for the first time almost it'll be 19 years come March. And something about March is my daughter's birthday month. Yeah. And I'd always go to LA and surround myself with my family. It was such a beautiful thing, man. And all I wanted was a picture. I didn't know what I was getting myself involved into. I just, you know, if I could develop a relationship with the new family, right? And my sister, she was there. So we were both there to, you know, embrace and meet family. They cooked for us the day after I flew in, or we flew in. But to be there with my grandmother, who I'd never met, and then she passed away 2 weeks later. So I thought she, you know, in my mind, she was waiting for me, right? So it was, and now they're around me all the time. I see them all the time. Yeah. I go there, they come here. You know, prior to me meeting or going on that journey to meet my family, I had was going to my mom's passing, right? So she'd been sick on dialysis for a few years, and you know, she was dying. She was, you know, she's deteriorating in her body. Everything was shutting down. But in her mind, you know, she always wanted to make us believe that she's going to make it out of this, right? And that's just what a parent does, right? You know, no, I'm fighting. We're going to, you know, I remember when she had her first leg amputated, right? And I'm going, and then she was like, no, babe, I can't wait to get that prosthetic. I'm going to get back walking again. And she ran a daycare, right? So my mother owned her own daycare business, so she raised a lot of kids, right? And she just refused to fail. She refused to give up. So, and then here comes the next leg, right? So, and I'm going, whoa, now you're confined to a wheelchair, and, you know, and I'm, you know, I just started in my business. I was just a sales guy. I was just, you know, just trying to make ends meet and help her out and around the house. And, you know, she's not doing well. You know, there's a number 757-4333. I can't stand that number because it's Salinas Valley Memorial. It's the and I can't stand getting those phone calls because I knew something was wrong. So on her last couple days, right before she slipped into a coma, she was I remember pulling up to her room, and she had her vascular surgeon and her renal doctor in there, and they had basically looked at her and told her, Sharon, this is it. There's nothing else we can do. We're going to make you comfortable. And then this is, you know, everything just kind of dies off. And I'm sitting outside the room as a kid. And I thought to myself, this is not happening. Right? But I saw it coming, but I just wasn't ready for it. And she looks over to the doctors. She says, tell my son Ollie to take care of the family. So I walk in the room, tears, and she's like, what are you crying for, boy? I can't wait to get up out of here. Everything's going to be just fine. I says, Mom, I know. I says, Mom, but who am I? Mom, who am I? And she paused. And she says, I'll let you know. I'm gonna make it right for you. She slips into a coma the next day. She always slept with a Bible on her bed, and in that Bible, she left this request, my birth certificate request. And on this request, it spells out my father's name, where I was born, the year I was born. Yeah. So this is her handwriting. Yeah. Wood Hospital. And this was kind of the start of my journey. And then, like I said, I gave up until I didn't want to give up and went back. So that was that's motivation for me every day, right? So, you know, I want to make sure my daughter, she knows everything about her family, whether it's my side, her mom's side, you know, cousins. It's family is such a big deal because there was a part of me that I thought, obviously, I didn't have growing up, right? I just knew the immediate family members around me, which are great. I love them. They're my family. We're all, but now we bring them, we get everybody together. Everyone's together now, Right. So all the different sides, and you know, yeah, that's something that's big for me.
Yeah.
You know, but there was a lot that I didn't have. So I want to make sure that my daughter has all of those different things, and her brothers, or people around her, and you know, hey, I have friends that, you know, go through it and are, you know, same situations, or, you know, similar situations where they don't have a relationship with their parent. And I said, you know what, it was closure, but it was also an opening for me as well. Right? It was like, okay, now I know. Okay, now I know I look like him. Yeah. Now I know, you know, we used to live in this neighborhood, and they would come over when I was a baby. I didn't know them, you know. But it's been a beautiful journey, Did
it take you a while to bounce back after that?
You know what? It didn't really have to. It didn't take me a while. You mean after my mother passed away? Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, every day. You know, it was. You know, a lot of people don't know this. Before she passed away, 2 years prior to her passing away, a doctor pulls me aside inside the hospital, and he says, "Hey, you look like you're the son. I want to have a conversation with you." So he pulls me in. This is after she had her first amputation. He says, "Hey, kid, I've been doing this for a long time, and typically when surgeries like this happen, and he had the best, not the best, he had the worst bedside manner." And he says they typically don't make it after a couple of years. My heart sank. I was 21. I get in my car, I leave Salinas Valley Memorial, and I go straight to Struve and Laporte. A friend of mine, Bill Laporte, Bob Struve, they run it. And these were the guys that I knew playing football. They always ran the, you know, all-star game. They were the guys that, you know, saw me play. And they looked at me and they go, "Ollie, I can think of a million different things, but sitting here trying to figure out how you're going to bury your mother in 2 years is not one of them." And I says, "You know, Bill, I don't want to be the kid with the hat out trying to put his mother in the ground. I said, I got to figure out what to do now and set aside whatever it is, because I got to make sure I put my mom to rest at some point." So went in there and took care of everything at that age. When it was all said and done, my family were looking around going, "What's going on? How are we going to do this?" And I go, I did it. I did it a few years ago, 2 years ago. And I said, "It's covered. Everything's covered." You know, and you know, but it's crazy. I never wanted to believe my mom was in the ground. Right? Last year, I finally put her headstone down. It took me that long. I'd go out there and I'd just walk. I didn't want to know where she was at. Right? I just put, okay, I think she's right here. It wasn't up until last year that I decided to do it, and it was a closure, but it was also an opening for me to know. My daughter was there. You know, she's been there. She goes with me all the time now. But you know, it took a lot. Right? As I'm young, I don't know. I mean, I had a friend of mine, you know, recently just lost her mother, and I'm going, and she reached out to me. I go, it's tough, you know, and you start to finances and you try to do all the right things, and you know, but just putting your loved one down is not something that I wish on anyone. Yeah. You know, so.
And man, that's a crazy story, but I feel like the craziest things are, it's like we grow up and we're like, man, sometimes those things are necessary. You know, like when I lost my brother, I literally think of days like that where I remember that day specifically, easily, detail to detail. And I'm like, it's crazy because me and my mom, every time we go visit, we kind of say to each other, like, man, he's proud of us, you know, really proud of us. But it's like the hardships, man, sculpt us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, even though we don't want to go through that way, the weirdest things, man, sometimes it's just necessary. It's like, I don't think life cares about anybody, but I think it's our decision to kind of make it how we want to make it. And just kind of like how you did when it comes to the whole finances part, you decided to be the most reliable man in any room. You know, you decided to like, hey guys, I got it. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm taking care of my mom. And that's the biggest flex, man. And it's also a decision to want to make those leaps, man. Because I can't imagine currently right now losing my mom, nor do I want to think about it. But I also have to prepare myself when that day happens. How am I going to react? Right. You know? Yeah. How am I going to face that dragon? You know what I mean? Am I going to slay that dragon and be like, okay,
Right.
All right, life's tested me before. Let's go. I'll pass another test. You know what I mean? And even to this day, you know, things are great. You know, we have good days and we have bad days. And in the future, it's the same thing. I feel like life is like the market, very up and down.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Absolutely.
So how do you kind of stay grounded and almost like stay prepared for when things can go possibly wrong?
You know, I live, right? There's no question about how I live. How do I stay grounded? It's knowing where I came from, right? This wasn't handed to me. This wasn't, you know, I tell my daughter, I go, sweetie, I'm gonna, you know, I always joke, I go, it's all gonna be spent by the time I go on the ground. I can't take it with me.
Yes.
But to stay grounded is just, you know, not forgetting where you come from, right? Knowing that this wasn't an inheritance. This wasn't handed to me. This was something I had to develop, taking all the shots in the world, the punches every day till this day, right? It's knowing that it could go disappear at any time.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't not get too far ahead of yourself, right? And just look at the possibilities, right? Take advantage of the opportunities, and just try to make the right decisions. Yeah. So, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't have this crazy capital with just money falling out of the, you know, there's no money trees around here, right? Every day is an earned dollar.
Yeah.
So that's it. Just, you know, knowing where you come from. You know, I tell my daughter, you know, you're very fortunate. You know, you went to private school. I said I went to public school, and not that there's. I go, but you know, this is something that we wanted to provide you, but I also wanted her to be familiarized with just being around people in general and understanding, like, you know, you're not above anyone because of this. And it was the best thing that ever happened was her transitioning into public school, and it was because it's public around here. It's family, it's friends around here. There's no one's hired, you know, holding you to a higher standard when you walk in the door. No one's judging you, you know. But when you start to understand that, then you develop, you know, you have those relationships around you. So being humble that way, as opposed to going, oh, I go to private school here, I got to live out here. No. That's not how we work. That's not how we live.
Yeah.
So.
And it's crazy too, like for people who are business owners and who maintain a business and scale a business, the outsiders kind of think like, oh, they are able to kind of spend lavishly, right? And it's like, that's not actually the case. Like some of my, some people that I'm aware of, they know what I do, and they're like, hey, like you're making money, you're doing this, you're doing that. I was like, no guys, like everything goes back into the business.
Reinvest.
Exactly. So it's almost strange that people kind of think that we can just live recklessly, you know, no discipline, and just kind of like, oh, like might as well go crazy and just like spend everything that we have. But it's like, that's not what keeps a business afloat. You know, like when you study a business, like say, you know, you got to also study the CEO, you got to study the people around it. Like, what are the employees saying? Like, it's a whole bracket. And it's just like the outsiders though, they kind of need to understand like, hey, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's very, very difficult. And kind of why we show up every day is because success, it's not guaranteed, but we've also dealt with failure, and we've also shown that that's not really permanent either.
No,
you know,
not at all.
And we can make that decision to kind of flip the script almost. You know what I mean? So do you get that a lot? Because I mean, I'm in your beautiful home, you know, it's amazing and I'm very impressed, but it's also having the discipline to be able to manage the finances.
Yeah, you know, this didn't come easy, obviously, and this is, you know, over years, right? You know, with the packaging business, you know, it allowed me to do certain things and reinvest, and then also jump into other ventures like the spirits and developing a label. But even that was not easy. You know, there's you know, a lot of people look at it and go, oh my God, he's got his own vodka label. Oh my God, he's got all these spirits, and I go, I've made $1.
Right.
I made 1 penny. It's being reinvested back with hopes that it becomes something. So, you know, people see it, they go, oh, he's got his own label. He's Diddy. He's this. No. I'm Ollie Lowe, and I don't have that kind of money. I reinvested back in the business with hopes that it will create something one day, and then just being smart about how we do it. right? You know, you could go in this and blow a bunch of money and not sell one bottle, right?
Yeah.
I'm only stuck with $2 million worth of inventory that can't move. So, you know, strategically, you got to make decisions and you know, think about the next move. But there's always failure. I mean, I've you know, I mean, if I could, you know, be straight with you, there's times in my packaging business where I didn't know how I was going to get through. Right? You lose customers, especially big ones, you know. And I've always thought to myself, you know, it's much better to have 15 small guys than 2 big guys. Yeah. And you just learn, right? And you just go out there. And you don't get complacent. You just get back into the grind every day because you know you've been in that situation before. Yeah. Like, oop, now I don't want to do that again. Yeah. I don't like when you have the banks calling you and your suppliers are going, hey, we got to figure this out here. You know, you just get back and jump back in. You just, you know, think about all the things you did as a child, things your mom did as a mother, and how she got back. You know. Yeah,
it's crazy, right? Like business is like life. It's very up and down. Yep. You know, people think it's just like, oh, because like say the big titans right now, right? Tesla, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, you see it, we hear articles, we see all these things. It is always up and down. Absolutely. You know, but what kind of keeps them innovating is say the competition. It's very, very necessary. So I mean, we are drinking your amazing vodka, my man. Yes. Cheers. It is damn good. I am almost done with mine. So why vodka? What made you interested in getting into the business of vodka?
So vodka, that's my preference in terms of spirits. I enjoy vodka. It's really fun. I didn't start drinking at all until I was like 27, 28 years old. I never touched booze. I was, you know, when I would see people get drunk, I go, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know. But I started drinking, I started drinking wine to start, but then I got into vodka and started drinking vodka, and then it was always, Kettle One. And, you know, we just started listening to, you got to get a Grey Goose, you got to go Chopin, So when I got involved in this, it was a startup company out of Santa Cruz at the time called You Blend It. And they were looking for some help on the packaging side. A good friend of mine from Santa Cruz introduced me to a gentleman, and then we just hit it off. So I said, I'll help you out. You know, we'll figure something out. It's basically like making wine boxes for, you know, someone, but I'll help you out. He sat me down inside the lab, and this started off in a garage. It started off in a garage. That's how it all started. And he's got, you know, this chemist in there, and they've got this lab, and they're just, you know, bringing in the high levels of ethanol, and they're just blending things together to try to figure out how can we compete in the marketplace of the, you know, the high-end guys, but be a high-end spirit, not be the well stuff that you get that's like rubbing alcohol. We wanted high-quality stuff. Yeah, it's going to cost some money. So you put the best players out there in terms of Tito's and whoever else is out there that are, you know, are spoken about, you know, when they go to the bar, give me a Kettle and Cran, give me, you know. So we wanted to compete at that level, but also understand that we wanted to have a special niche in the market, corn-based, organic, better than what you have on your top shelf, but less expensive. Whether you bought it, you know, whether it was a bar buying it, or whether it's the, you know, the chain stores, the grocery stores that are buying it, you know, and they put you right next to the high-end guys, and they go, well, just try it and tell me what you think. And they go, oh, wow, right? So my motivation was just to do something completely different than everybody else was doing, right? Not just throw a label on it and go, hey, it's Tito's like, or it's Kettle like. No, you know, you wanted to, that's what I wanted to do. And it's a tough market, you know, it hasn't taken off crazy by any means, you know, but it's in the areas that I like to be in. Yeah. The places I like to, you know, I go where my liquor's at.
That's where I met you. That's where I had mine there. Yeah.
So I will venture to a bar that showcase my liquor, and I will always, you know, I'm gonna give it right back, right? You know, so, that's kind of that's how that all started. Then it became, you know, from that, after a few years, once we figured out what we wanted on the shelf, the business had blown up so fast. I mean, you know, we go from a garage to a 30,000, you know, square foot facility there in Scotts Valley that's just producing not just my label but other labels, you know, and it's been good. It's you know, it's given, you know, me an avenue to do something else outside of just because packaging can be gone tomorrow. Yeah. Right? And then, you know, so you look at other ventures that you can possibly get in that would be. But you know, when I look at things, I want to have my own niche. I don't want to be just, you know, I want to be just a packaging guy. I want to be the best packaging guy.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be the guy that, oh, that's Ollie, right? You know, my mom always said, hey, son, when you walk in, make sure they remember your name when you walk out.
Yeah.
So that's always been important.
And when things go afloat, when it's on the shelves, when the packaging is going great, you're getting great clients, so on and so forth, right? There's always great moments. There's also big headaches. In any business venture that you have been in, what are some of the biggest headaches that you remember and that you maybe face today?
Slow payers.
Yes.
You know, so you know, when you finance, you know, the business and someone's holding you, I mean, and it's not, we're not talking just chump change, you know, you can be talking $2, $3, $4 million, right? Yeah. And whether it be stuck in inventory, whether it be, you know, they're just taking forever to pay, you know, 30-day terms, but they're not paying you for another 120 days. You know, that's the biggest headache because, you know, Tom Russell said a sell is not a sell unless you get paid. Right? Yeah. So you could, you know, and that's the biggest headache in the business. So you try to, you know, strategically, and you know, it doesn't work all the time. You just never know. Everybody has issues and problems. So you always go towards the guy that's got a lot more capital than you. Yeah. That's the guy you want to do business with, right? Yes. Not, you know, sometimes the startup thing can be a little scary, but if there's some, you know, volume there and there's some money in the bank that you know you'll be covered, you tend to go to those guys. You know, I tend to stay away from the guy that says, well, you know, I got 90-day terms over here, and I go, I got 120-day terms over here, and I get all these different things, and I'm going, you know, that's not, those are the things that I try to stay away from. Yeah. And this business is, whether it's spirits or whether it's packaging, it's a big business, but there's only a few players involved. Yeah. Right. It's not like, oh, just, you know, 1,500, you know, packaging companies here and something. No. Right. I'm a, you know, I'm a small fish in a big pond.
But I love how you're in it, though. You know what I mean? And I feel like when you're in the game, that's kind of how you beat the game. You know, you remain it, you scale it, you better it, you water it, and the right people are in it. I just feel like that's, and there's always going to be problems, but when you walk around like a problem solver, it's kind of like, man, like I'm a dangerous individual. Yeah. In all aspects. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you feel knowing that you are a problem solver, that you've become a problem solver?
Well, you know, it's nice to be wanted, right? It's nice to be a commodity in this business where, you know, yeah, it can be replaced. Everyone can be replaced. But to have people, you know, want to reach out to you and want to do business with you, it just goes without saying. You got a great name. You got, you know, you've been doing this for a long time. You've got some knowledge that most people don't have. You got some relationships that most people don't have. And you want to continue those different things. So it's, how does it feel? It can be stressful at sometimes, right? You want to make sure you make all the right moves. You want to make sure you do right by your customer. You want to be first in all the different things that are, you know, you want to be innovative. Yeah. So, but you just got to stay on top of it. Like, you know, just like I study my competition, I've got to educate myself ahead of them, right? So.
Isn't it interesting knowing that they're watching you too?
Oh yeah. You know, you know, people say, "Oh, we don't see you around." I go, "Well, you know, I like to be here, and I want to be. When I'm seen, I want to be seen. Yeah. When I don't want to be seen, I put myself in. Be careful when you don't see me, right? You know, but I don't need to pull around and, you know, and show up. And I made some dumb moves when I was young, obviously, with, you know, different things that I did in business, whether it be not just business, just life purchases, things like that, you know, but when it's all said and done, that means zero, right? What's worth is, you know, it's what you put in and what you reinvest back in and those things like that. So
isn't that one of the most annoying part when it comes to, like, I feel like even for myself, like I had that mindset of like trying to impress others, you know, and I feel like everybody's had that little taste of it, you know, but when you get older, you're like, man, nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. But why do we find out so late? Like, why do we even try to implement, like put our feet in it and just kind of like, maybe if I make this purchase, somebody's going to look at me different. Like, why do we think that way, you think?
You know, I mean, it could be just the socializing, that, you know, just the history of just being, You know, I mean, I know how I was. You know, in high school, I was, you know, probably the most popular kid at the time. I could dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played football. So you always held to this high standard. So you want to make sure when you show up,
Yeah.
you don't fail.
Yes.
You want to be the best looking,
Yeah.
the best shape. You know, but then when it's all said and done, right? You want to have the best cars. You want to put on the best show. When it's all said and done, no one gives a damn. No one cares, right? If anything, they're taking advantage of what you're doing wrong than what you're doing right. So you tend to learn that later on in life, but it does take a while because it took me forever. Now, you know, I'd have, you know, the craziest birthday parties, right? The 40th birthday party, I had, you know, one of my favorite artists, John B., you know, show up and put on this big show. And it was beautiful. I loved it, but nobody gave a damn. Yeah. They were there for the free booze and the entertainment and having a great time. And you start to realize that later on in life that it was not money well spent and decisions that you made. So you learn, you know, and I'm teaching that now. Hey, praise you. Listen, your eyes are brown. They're not green. They're not blue. You know, whenever you take those contacts off, you know, she went through a phase, right? And like, oh, warm for like a week. And I go, baby girl, you're stunning. You're beautiful. You don't need to show off. Yeah. Everything else is going to speak. It's all going to speak for itself. Don't make, I made the mistakes for you not to make them. Yeah. So, you know, but you don't, you know, so now you teach it that way. I teach it that way now, but yeah, it took a while. It took a while because I was like, oh, I need to have the best looking car. I got to have it. Yeah. Give me the GTS. Give me the Porsche. Give me the, you know, I need this car. I need that guy. I had, you know, there was a point in time I was sitting in my driveway with 4 cars. I can only drive one at a time. Made no sense.
Yes.
Right? It wasn't an investment. It was that look. Right? Yeah. Nobody cares. Now they're not asking me, where's that car? You know, no, nobody cares. So you realize, oh, you can even look at your bank account and go, got more money in the bank. Yeah. You know, I'm not paying that bill. Right. You know.
It's crazy too, because like I had a young gentleman come to me and he had like chains, watches, like, you know, looked pretty good. And he was kind of like saying the numbers that he had spent on his outfit. And I was like, man, I'm wearing a $7 shirt. You know what I mean? And I was like, this right now that I'm currently wearing is probably like $15. You know what I mean? Right. H&M, easy, fly, looks good, you know?
Right.
But we think that we have to like wear these crazy jewelry, the crazy high-end brand stuff. But it's like, I understand, like, don't get me wrong. You put me in a suit, I love that feeling. You know, you get that intimidating feeling like, man, I feel like James Bond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, something my mentor told me, it's not how much you spend, it's how much you can manage. You know?
That's good.
Because that's everything in a day, right? Yeah. So like when the kid was kind of like flexing and kind of trying to show me, I was like, man, I really could care less how much you spend. I care how much you manage.
Right.
Because I feel like that's what brings longevity. Yeah. If you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we were talking about, you know, before we did this, I was concerned about, not just a concern, I just wanted to be me, right? So this is me. Everybody sees me every day. It's a polo tee, some pants, you know, some sneakers. But there are times when I want to show out. When I mean by show out, I want to go get dressed up and I'm going to go do a meal and I want to walk in like I own the place.
Yes.
Right? And it's okay to do that. It's just a good feeling sometimes. My daughter want to get dressed up, just get dressed up. But, you know, when you see me the next day, I'll be back in flip-flops or, you know, torn up sweats or whatever it may be. But, you know, it's not about what I have on. It's the feeling inside for me.
Yes.
Right? It's walking in going, I feel good. Like, you know, once again, right? In order to be that, all eyes on me.
Yes.
Right? I need all eyes on me. You know, so.
And the first time I saw you at the restaurant, that's what that was. I didn't know you. I had no idea. My mom introduced me, but it was quick, right?
Yep.
But I knew when I was approaching you, walking up towards you, I was like, oh, this is a bad man. You know what I mean? But it was just the way you stood up. It was the way you walked. It was just kind of like the way your chin was up in a way. You know what I mean? Like, because body posture is everything. The way you speak is another thing. You know what I mean? And I feel like when you're slouched and you don't really walk with confidence, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to go up that person and, you know what I mean, shake with that and like hug that individual. It's like, man, like you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
And when I met you, it was that.
Yeah.
And therefore it was comfortable. That's why reaching out to you to be able to do this was just kind of like, it's very easy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And the, you know, the love was genuine. Like I said, I felt the same way about you. Yeah. You know, the embrace and you made me feel comfortable. I mean, this is the first thing I've done this once before, but to have it done at this scale is on a whole nother level. So I was excited about it, right? You know, and just getting the chance to know you, right? You know, and then like I said, you know, I know your mother And I know the upbringing, man, and I just love the fact that you got some great things going, man, and continue to do what you're doing, dude. I mean, you put your face on this market.
Yeah.
You've got a good thing going, man. A really good thing going. You're going to touch a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're going to reach out to a lot of people.
Are there, as an experienced businessman, are there any lessons that you would pass on to me?
Lessons. Well, drive every day. Get up and grind, and get up and think that this all could be gone tomorrow. Yeah. And surround yourself with just good people, whether it's in your business or just the friends you keep. You'll know that, who's all are in for all the wrong reasons, and just want to ride your coattails for certain things that you may have.
Yeah.
And when you become a father one day, your children will appreciate that, because they'll know the ones that you want to get rid of, that you need to get rid of. They'll let you know. Yeah. Right. So that would be my advice to you, is that, wake up every day, grinding, and just know that it can be gone tomorrow. Yeah. The minute you get complacent. And then surround yourself with good people, man. Yeah. That's important.
Well, my brother, I want to be very, very respectful of your time. We hit way over an hour. And my man, it was just an amazing conversation. But my very, very last question to you, in your experience of life, in your experience of business, and all the ventures that you continue to do, how would you define success?
How would I define success? I don't know if I know the answer to that question, because I don't feel myself being successful. My success would be, if I were to define success for me, it'd be raising my daughter. It would be getting her off to college, walking her down that aisle, and watching her flourish in life. Yes. That would be success for me. That is success, not my business. It's fatherhood. It's watching her grow. It's watching her achieve all the things that she wants, that she needs to achieve, or she wants to achieve. That's success for me, not my business.
Just something you get to do, But it's like the family, that's the priority. Yep. Right?
100%.
My brother, are there any closing statements that you'd like to give for the podcast?
Man, I love you, dude. I really appreciate you, my man.
Love you too, brother.
We're family, man. So, we can do this anytime. Hang.
Bro, I would love to do this continuously, man. Trust me.
So right. You did me right, man. So thank you. I really appreciate you.
Honestly, this was a true pleasure. Like I said, this is our second interaction. You left a really good mark on me the first time we met, but this just put a stamp on it. And I really appreciate you bringing me into your home and really truly allowing me to do this, because it's really rare not really rare, but it's amazing to know that there's other great men out there. And I'm blessed and honored to be here.
I appreciate that, man.
Thank you so much, brother.
It's all love.